Hey crafty people, welcome back to my channel, and in case you're new here, I'm Sarah, also known as Craft Nerd because I'm a nerd who loves to craft. I do paper crafting, card making, junk journaling, and mixed media art. Let's get crafting! Okay, so today we're going to do some prep work for some Christmas makes, and we are going to start by making some icicles using my hot glue gun, my glass mat, and some glitter. Where is that? I've got the Stampers Anonymous glitter duster, which will let me spray rock candy glitter dust onto our snowflake icicles. And really all you need to do is put a glob of glue down and then drop icicles. And you can always trim this off later, so you can just do a good long line. And then while it's still hot, dust with glitter. Entirely sure how much glitter I'm getting on there versus everywhere else. I think it might work a little easier if I just pull out the glitter. And a little scoop. I also think I'm going to grab some chunky and do some with chunky. Hoping it's still a little tacky, but it's mostly dry at this point. All right. And it will peel off. I tested it out before coming on without any glitter on there. But let's do some more. I think I got a little too chunky. Oh, and it's already starting to dry. Maybe I should be doing these shorter so I have more time for glittering. And don't worry, I'm gonna tip this off onto a piece of paper and then put it back in my jar. And actually, let's do that before we mix in the chunky. Sections so that it doesn't start to get cool before I'm ready. Do have a little more glitter left on the mat, but that's okay. I'll scoop that away in a minute. You can also squeeze out some icicles with the glue and then paint them white if you don't want translucent ones, and I'll probably do a few of those and then add glitter after. But let's take a closer look and see if you can see all the lovely shimmer and sparkle. So there we go. We got shimmery, sparkly icicles. All right, I'm going to do a few more of those before I unplug my glue gun, and then we'll be back to work on the next bit. Okay, next we are going to zhuzh up some of the Tim Holtz Ideology Pinecones, which they did not come back this year, but I think you can still find them. At least, I think this bottle of paint is dead. I don't think there's any paint left in it. All right, let me see if I have another bottle of white paint. I do. Okay, so for some of them, we're just going to brush on a little bit of white. I'm gonna kind of come in with my finger and smush it around so that it's so that we have snowy pine cones. I think that's all that I'm gonna do, and washing your brush off in water helps if you put water in the cup. Now the next step, where we're gonna get messy fingers, because we are going to use our rock candy to glitter them. Now I'm gonna let the white ones dry a little longer, and we'll start on the non-painted ones. And for this, I am gonna open my thing of rock candy. I am gonna put a little Glossy Accents on my finger and brush a little with my finger on and dump them in and shake it around. Grab some tweezers. I think that one probably is gonna get another round. So just kind of brush a little on with my finger, drop in, shake. Give it a minute to dry. That got a little too much. I have a feeling this one's gonna be very glittered. More like it's clumpy in spots. All right, I think these are probably sufficiently dry since I put a very thin coat of the paint on, and we're gonna add glitter to them as well. That one is definitely done. Clean a little bit off my fingers. So like this one where I got it in some spots but not others, I'm gonna go back in and add a little more. So I'm just gonna go ahead and finish doing
this same process for all of these pine cones so that we have a collection of glittered pine cones. So I'm going to do that and I'll be back. I also want to glitter some candies and some of the bubbles and baubles to create snowflakes. So let's pull out some candies. And for some of these, I want to use the chunky glitter. So it's the same basic process. So I'll show you a couple and then I'll go off camera and do a whole bunch more because, well, how much of this do you need to watch me doing? And I'm using Glossy Accents. I don't know if I said for covering because it helps keep the sparkle of the glitter. Pine cones are a little easier to do because I only had to get, you know, one finger messy. These guys require multiple fingers. Oh, I completely missed a spot on that guy. But I can always go back in and add more, which I will probably do. So yeah, it's just a very messy process, but that's the gist of it. And actually, let's grab these tweezers. So I'm gonna go through, do some more candies, including a couple candy canes and some more bubbles. Oh, and I'll do a bauble on camera too, because it's gonna give a slightly different look. Because these are pearlized. So there we go. And I like both of those. So I'm gonna go do a whole bunch more. Then we'll be back and I think we're gonna put alcohol ink some of the baubles because I'm gonna do slightly different technique. I know I did in my Halloween prep how to do like the bubbles, and I may have done some bubbles, I don't remember. But we're gonna try and get kind of a mercury glass effect. So it's gonna be slightly different. So I'll come back after I finish being messy with the glitter. Okay, so I've pulled out the baubles that I want to do, and this section I'm doing in red and greens, and these are going to be like teal and gray. So let's start with the red and greens. Let's toss in about half of the ones I pulled out. We are going to start by adding in some brick. And some crimson. The lid and give it a good shake around. Now I'm going to dump those out, and I've got a paper towel to dump it out on. Give those a second to dry. While they're drying, we'll do the green. And we'll put the rest of these guys in. And I'm realizing I'm getting ready to do them green and they're gonna go on a green tree. That's right, we're gonna carry on. And I've grabbed Bottle and Everglades. And put our lid on. Give them a good shake around. And dump these guys out. Actually, we're gonna multitask because while I set those aside, this is one of those adornment stands that came out, I think this was a couple years ago, but I'm gonna take my thing of red. I'm gonna put a little bit of rubbing alcohol in there. Grab a brush and paint the bow. And there are berries, so let's get the berries. I'm gonna grab a paper towel, and hopefully I was on screen for that. And I'm just gonna clean off my brush, rubbing alcohol on paper towel. Now I'm gonna grab the green and use the green to color the leaves in. Green, just barely. Okay, I should scoot forward a little. Sorry about that. Alright, so there's what that looks like. Alcohol inked. Set that aside and let it dry the rest of the way. Clean off my brush, and then we're going to do the next step on all right, let's grab back our reds and toss them back into our red bucket. We're going to give them a little spritz. And then we are going to add some mushroom. And we'll swirl around. Uh-oh. We're gonna dump them out, spread them out a little. Get them to spread a little bit from each other. And now I'm gonna do a little misting. So it usually gets it to like spread out. Wonder if I'm gonna try a little hand sanitizer. Am I on screen? Probably not, because I tend to pull things closer to me. And there's one more thing I want to do to these. I've got the Alloy and Statute. gonna dump these back in. Now, for this aloe to stick, I think you need to use the blending solution. So we're gonna put a little bit of blending solution in. And some of the aloe that we just sprayed everywhere. That was not ideal. And we're gonna shake around, and ooh, that took over, and they're all kinds of gold, way more than I wanted. All right, let's dump them out. So yeah, they're a little more gold than I wanted. Let's see what happens if we do. I'm just kind of smushing the paper towel over top. Oy, I'm making such a mess. All right, I'm kind of wondering if I toss them back in with more red and mushroom, if that'll get me what I want. Let's see. With the red first. Oh yeah, that's better. And a little bit of mushroom. And we'll pop them out. And I kind of like those. We got some gold and red, and we'll set those aside and let them dry. And while they're doing that, we'll work on the green ones again. Let's put less mixed aloe in this time, hopefully. And just add a dot of the blending solution. Mix that up. That's way more what I wanted the first time around. And then let's add some mushroom in. Give them a shake. And we can dump those guys out. That's kind of where I was going for. All right, let's set that aside. And then these guys, oh, I need another cup. I'm setting a few aside, and I'll grab another cup because I want to do some in just gravel and slate so that they're kind of a gray, and then the rest we're doing a mixture. Actually, this time, let's see what happens if we do the aloe first. Okay, so let's now add, I'm gonna do Mermaid, Stream, and Turquoise. Definitely gonna add a few drops of mushroom. And let's turn these guys out. Woo. I like those. Those are kind of cool. Let's set those aside. And actually, I think I'm going to be a little lazy. And let's just add a dot more Foundry. Which I'm wondering if I didn't mix it well enough, because it should be silver and it's definitely going a little more yellowy silver. I don't think I stirred it enough, but it's fine. And let's toss these guys in. Woo! And then we're going to add gravel, some stream, and mushroom all at once. Why not? Let's see what happens. Where did my top go? Ah, here it is. Interesting. I think we need more mushroom, gravel, and stream to combat the blues that's already in there. Oh yeah, I like those. Alright, we're gonna set those guys aside to dry. And while they're drying, we're gonna pull over our paintbrush. I've got another one of those statues. And we're gonna use this to change his color. He's done. Clean off my brush real quick and then I'll give you a close-up. All right, there's what he looks like. I like that color. All right, I am gonna have a little bit of a cleanup and then we are gonna spray some trees. All right, I got my spot box up. I've got a bunch of the Tim Holtz trees in a variety of sizes and shapes. And I've pulled out green because most of them are going to be green. I've got a few others pulled out that I'm going to do in like the teals for the project I'm working on, for which I've been doing teal stuff. And what I've grabbed is I've got Distress Stain, Rustic Wilderness, and Shabby Shutters. Those are the only two greens I've got of those in spray stains. And I've grabbed Ice Spruce and Pumice Stone to grungy a few of them up. I also figured I'd toss in a little bit of peeled paint, Distress Oxide, and then I've grabbed Mica spray stains in Specimen and Tree Lot. Now those guys I'm going to give a good shake and leave on their side when I'm doing everything else. And let's see, let's do... Let's do these guys first, and I'm gonna get them a little wet because that usually helps the inks move. So I'm just giving them a spray of water. And actually, to try and keep my fingers from getting turned dark green, I'm gonna put on my gloves. For this first set, let's start with some Shabby Shutters. And then let's come in with Rustic Wilderness. Wow, that kind of takes over, doesn't it? All right, now let's give these guys a little spritz of ice spruce. Just a and let's see, which is this one? This one's Tree Lot. So let's give a little light spritzing of them with some Tree Lot. All right, I'm going to set these guys aside for a minute. Grab the other group. Whee! All right, let's go in. Let's start with a little pumice stone. And Shabby Shutters. Rustic Wilderness, and then let's add in some of the Oxide on these. Let's see how that does. Mix them again with some water. Kind of roll them around. I think this one I want to go a little darker on. So we're going to add a little bit more Rustic Wilderness to it. Oop. All right, and let's pull in some Specimen. That got a little bit much, so we're gonna spritz. Gonna go like that, and I think I'm gonna grab some paper towel. Some of these we're gonna just squeeze off some of the excess. Like that. Like that guy. He's good. He's gonna get set aside. He's done. See how these guys are looking. I think we're just gonna do a little removal of excess on these guys as well. Now I just want to test something. These guys are still damp, but not wet. Okay, so what I want to do next for a couple of them, because I want to, one of the scenes on one of the boxes that I'm planning is going to be a tree lot. I think it was Vicki Evans's blog had the how-to for creating the wrapped trees for a tree lot. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna take these guys while they're damp and wrap them up with plastic wrap to kind of smush down their leaves. And I forgot to grab rubber bands, which is what she used to keep them like this till they dried all the way. But basically I'm squishing all of the branches down and wrapping it in plastic wrap, and I'm gonna have to go get some rubber bands. So again, what I'm doing is I'm just kind of smushing the branches up like you see with a wrapped tree at a tree lot. Definitely need rubber bands. The other two I got wrapped a little tighter, but I'm gonna wrap these with rubber bands. I'm gonna clean up this mess and I will be right back. Okay, last two trees. I don't screen this, okay. And for these, we're doing blues. So for the itty bitty one, we're just gonna kind of give it a good spray. And then we're gonna use, I've grabbed, that's not the one I want to use for this one, Merry Mint, and I've got some Peacock Feathers. So we're gonna give it a spritz of Peacock Feathers and Merry Mint. Kind of roll it around, make sure we got it covered good. And we're gonna pat some of that off onto a paper towel and set him aside. Now for this guy, we're gonna do a little bit of Peacock Feathers down here. And then we're also gonna add Mica stain in Frosted Juniper. Also down here at the bottom. And we're gonna grab a cup and add some water. Wondering if I should grab a narrower cup, but this is what I have handy, so we're gonna go with it. And we're gonna add water. And that is gonna give us an ombre effect because it'll pull the color down into the rest of the tree. As you can see, it's starting to happen. So we're going to leave this sit for a little while. And I feel like I should put a little bit more up here. And we're going to set that in there and just let it soak for a while. And I may put some more on the edge later to let the ombre take effect. And I'm going to clean this up. And generally what I use for cleanup is I've got some really cheap kids color watercolor paper, and I'm just going to clean that up, and then I'm going to have some inky papers to use later. And so I'm going to leave that sit, and then I'll be back to show you those. Oh, and I didn't have any rubber bands, so I used some string to tie these up. So once those are dry and this guy's done, I'll show you what we got done today. Okay, so I think these guys are dry, and I did not end up finding any rubber bands that weren't like full on dead, snapping and falling apart. So I just used some string to tie up our trees. Let's see how they came out. Yeah, that worked out pretty good. And what we'll do next is tie them up with some twine. Got a little fluffy down there, and I think they might still be a little damp. One didn't get quite as smushy at the top, I don't think. Let's see how it looks once we put some twine around them. Just gonna leave a little at the end there because we're gonna wrap them up. You can always trim off any flyaways that we don't like. So there's the first one, and I'm okay with them sticking out a little bit because they're not going to be perfectly wrapped, but there's our first tree. And my desk seems to have eaten my better scissors for cutting the excess twine. So when I find that, we'll trim off the excess. And again, I gotta hunt down my scissors so I can cut off the excess. And then one more. I'm just kind of wrapping it to the end and then going back down so that it crisscrosses. Okay, so those need to get trimmed off. We also got this tree done, and these two guys, and the bigger ones, and then a little teal guy, and our ombre one, which I did go back in and add a little bit more spray at the bottom because it wasn't dark enough. So we got that done today. We also made snowballs, sparkly pine cones, snowy and sparkly pine cones, Christmas balls that are mercury glass inspired, and I feel like we did some candy that I'm not seeing right now. Oh, and our icicles. We definitely sugared candy. I'm just not seeing where I put the sugared candy right now. My desk is currently a disaster area. Oh wait, there it is. Okay. We sugared candy. And We made icicles. Lots and lots of icicles. So that, and we used alcohol ink to color this guy. So that's all for today. If you enjoyed this video, please do all the things that lets YouTube know you enjoyed the video. Like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, leave me a comment down below. Thanks for joining me, and happy crafting.